Hi, I'm Mark Needham with StarTree, and in this video we're going to learn about pausing and resuming real-time data ingestion in Apache Pinot. So we've got this data generator here, and it produces events that have a timestamp, a UID, and a count. So let's give it a try, and then we'll filter it to get just 10 messages. So you can see so far, so good. Now let's update our command to pipe that data into Apache Kafka. So first we're going to massage the data using the JQ JSON processing tool so that each of our events has a key. And then once we've done that, we're going to use the KCAT tool to pipe that data into Kafka. So now that that's running, let's go over to another tab and we'll use KCAT again, but this time in consumer mode to check that the data is being ingested. As we can see, the messages are coming through very, very quickly, so it all looks good so far. So now we're going to see how we can get that data into Pinot. Now remember, when we're putting data into Pinot, we need to first create a schema. So we're going to have a schema called events, and we're going to map each of those fields. So the UID, the count, and the timestamp. And then we need to create a table config. And remember, in the table config, the table name must now match the name of the schema. We can also see that the Kafka config is there, telling where the Kafka broker lives, the name of the topic, and other metadata as well. And then if we scroll down to the bottom, we can see that we've got some transformation functions too. Now, pay very close attention to this one because there is actually a typo in here with the number of capital S's. So we've put in 2, and there should be 5 because our timestamp is in that format. What we're going to do now is we're going to run a command to add the table. And we see we get a message that says it's been created. So now let's go and view that table in the Pinot UI. So we can see there aren't any events or any rows in this table. So that's kind of interesting. So let's come back to our terminal and let's have a look at the Pinot logs. And if we just stop that for a minute, we can see we've got an error message when it was trying to process the dates, which is, I guess, kind of what we expected was going to happen. And so now everything is stuck. No data is going to be ingested into Pinot. Now, in Pinot pre 0.11, at this point, we're kind of stuck and we'd have to restart the cluster and go and fix that transformation function and then maybe update the table and start things up again. Luckily for us, things are a bit better in 0.11. And so we have this new API that allows us to pause ingestion. And so if we go to another tab, we're going to call that pause API. And you can see in the results it says, okay, that now we should probably call the pause status endpoint and check that everything has stopped consuming. So let's do that. And if we call that, we can see that there are no consuming segments. So we've got an empty array there. So that's good. So what we'll do next is we're going to have a look at a fixed table config. So if you scroll down this one, we can see that the transform function has now been fixed. And if we come back to our command line again, we can call the add table and with our new config. And this time we need to make sure we pass in a hyphen update so that it will update an existing table. If we don't put in that, it will give us an error and say, hey, you're updating a table rather than creating a new one. Now that we've done that, we need to call the resume consumption API. So we can call that. And then finally, we can go back to the Pinot UI and check if there are now any rows in our events table. And indeed there are, so that's great. It's all worked well. So that's the end of this video in which we've learned how to pause and then resume real-time data ingestion in Apache Pinot. Give it a try and let us know how you get on. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.